Hey, what's going on guys, my name is Labb and welcome back to another video where we're speaking about quite an important topic today. And yeah, I've got my good friend Lago Virt who'll be coming in later on in the video, but today we're speaking about over-sexualization in the fandom. And let's just begin on how and what over-sexualization is. So over-sexualization in general is, and to give a very easy summarization, is a fandom that is obsessed purely with sexual content of its characters, of its people. And I do kind of believe that this does go on heavily in the fandom. Now, I would like to preface this by saying sex isn't a bad thing. I'm not anti-sex. I'm not some Christian fucking shouting in your face saying that you have to be married to have sex. I don't care, but when it stretches so blatantly into the public eye is when I kind of have an issue with it. So how did over-sexual content begin on YouTube in specific? Well, it really is with our fandom. There's a largely sexual part of the fandom. That is in every fandom, of course. But I've never seen how easy it is for lewd content to cross-contaminate onto YouTube, and then some largest creators in our sphere have made content that, while in a joking form, is completely over-sexual for no reason. So as far back as I can see it, it started with minor jokes here and there, saucy questions on every single first year's Q&A at every con, every time, but the real thing began with one YouTuber, Fluke. Now, Fluke isn't actually to blame, he just figured out the algorithm. Buff furry male plus furry memes equals a shit ton of views. See, this formula is nothing new and it was really coined by the commentary community in 2016. You put something like cringiest thing on YouTube with a picture of Jacob Sartorius or some dumb shit, and it gets billions of views and you become a YouTube celebrity overnight. There really was nothing new, and Fluke wasn't exactly born in the darkness, he merely adopted it. See, you can see a massive jump in views when he applied the formula in late 2019. Fluke remained semi-discreet with the thumbnails, yet the next individual I'll be speaking of took the idea like this and fucking ran for the hills. So, well, Fluke stayed discreet, Glitch just kind of took it and ran. Glitch is by far the most openly horny YouTuber on the site, full of all ages. The amount of videos featuring over-sexual thumbnails are almost quite the same amount of time wares have been made about. For legal reasons, that is a joke. People may say that I'm purely anti-sex, but I'm very sexual within my private life and not in the public eye. The main standpoint I have is that YouTube is such a broad platform that Glitch and others have to stop openly stepping into Elsagate territory. Nobody over the age of 16 can admit they're a super fan of Glitch. Furry meme content in general isn't most thought-provoking. So let's wrap around to my final point before handing off to my big bunny boy, Lago Virt. So sexualization in the furry fandom has been a bit of a hot button issue recently. We're seeing more and more underage furries being openly horny on Twitter, and now while all the adults protest this, the ones who don't are in federal supermax prisons. But I personally have an idea that the exposure to lewd content unintentionally can cause grave consequences. See, it's like if I gave cholera intentionally to a town in Western Asia in 2005, then people would be upset when I did, like what the fuck? See, that's a bad analogy, but what I mean to say is that it's unfortunately a very monkey see, monkey do mentality within the fandom, and specifically with minors, and they see older people do it and follow suit. The fact they should. Not only will this end up with negative interactions with a minor, but it'll likely end up even worse for any adult mentioned in it. With this analogy in mind, I personally believe that content creators have a responsibility to partially self-center. Like, half of the videos don't need to be this openly sexual or sexually orientated, but the sad fact about it is that sex sells, even on a non-sexual site that may have minors on it. So in general, if you want to know more about this topic, I will be running a stage show at Midwest Fur Fest 2020 next year, and it's called Yif the Musical 2, Where Was Paw Patrol During the Iranian Hostage Crisis? But I will pass you over to my beautiful friend Lago Virt.
For those who aren't familiar with my views on the fandom as a whole, I've been pretty vocal on the fact that we have a very real hypersexualization issue. No matter where you look in the fandom, there always seems to be the possibility that something has to do with sex. We are open and accepting of whatever sexually gratifies, which is a double-edged sword at times. Peak furry humor is either animal stereotyping or finding out that stunk is knots backwards. Furry conventions... just furry conventions. To say the furry fandom isn't sex positive would be a lie through your teeth. Only, that statement is rarely expressed nowadays. Most certainly because the majority of the fandom is fully aware of what's being produced en masse here. You know how weed was peddled as this drug that would obliterate your brain until it eventually started getting accepted legally?
He has all the weed that you need, the ganja, that Mary Jane, marriage image.
Yeah, furry porn was kind of a socially smaller version of that. And when it comes to sexual furry content, or YIF as it were, you may notice that there's a goddamn lot of it. So much in fact that coming across YIF, cropped or not, is just par for the course in the fandom. Whether you're looking for it or not, you're gonna see an anthro animal with anatomically correct nethers. Hell, sometimes it's not even an adult. Or anthro. Or a real animal for that matter. The majority of people grow aroused to different things, so it's no wonder that sex sells like it does in the fandom. That doesn't say that sexual content is a bad thing by any means. As someone who occasionally spends their leisure indulging in it, that would be hypocritical of me. But as Labb has described, the problem comes from when minors get involved. And despite what your YouTube analytics want you to believe, there are countless minors using this site to watch whatever videos they please, regardless of what age restriction has to say about it. However, one thing age restriction can't keep under wraps is the video's thumbnail. This may seem hyperbolic, I'm sure, but that could lead to a real slippery slope of minors landing in a pile of furry smut. But if that seems too outlandish for you, why not raise the scale above YouTube and judge the fandom itself? A place where Rule 34 of animalistic characters is almost expected. Now I know no fandom is immune to Rule 34 content, it's just one of the internet's absolutes. But when it comes to furries, our heightened sex positivity leads to talk about it being a lot more open and visible to anyone. I mean, think about it. Whenever a new piece of media that has anthropomorphic characters hits the web, as a furry, you just kind of see it and go, oh, I wonder how long it's gonna take this time.
I'm terrified. Terrified of all the fan art you've most likely already spawned. That kind of fan art.
I bet I'm your favorite.
No, don't do that. Don't mention stuff like that. Not with this fan base.
Over 1,000 posts already. And this game's been out for like, what, a month? I might be speaking from personal experience here, but when the starters for Pokemon Sword and Shield were revealed, and one of them were legit just a rabbit, I knew that furry artists left and right were going to transform into Morris cats for the next few days. And obviously it's not just Pokemon that get this treatment. A more recent example would be the Bad Guys trailer that was released by DreamWorks, with people immediately swooning at the sight of the protagonist. That or smearing Nick Wilde, who just... Do I even want to bring up furries in Zootopia? I'm sure we all know about that, right? Although compared to Zootopia, I can at least give the Bad Guys a pass. Not because I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't, more because of the film's source material featuring stuff that would feed the Macro Falco fans for days. Now, I'm not saying all this to say that we need to stop being sexual. Again, that would be hypocritical. What I do want to leave this video with is saying that there's nothing wrong with being open about your sexuality to an extent. Openly celebrating who or what you're into is not something many people can do confidently, but the issue comes from spreading it on a site that minors can predominantly access. And I know that seems like a small problem compared to YouTube's other issues, but hey, the smaller the issue, the easier the fix, right? That about wraps up my time. I'll be turning things back over to my good pal Labb.
My entire conclusion about this stuff is that it can be very toxic to the community. Like, as I said in my previous point, the younger individuals in the fandom act on a very monkey see, monkey do mentality. They see individuals above them being openly horny and they follow suit. You may argue this, that content creators cannot control the masses that they have, but I beg to differ. We as content creators have active control over what we post, how our videos come out, what thumbnail we use, the tags, and what we overall said in the video. We have a bit, if not all, responsibility when shit like this gets out of control. This personally is why I love to appear as a fucking droid talking over gameplay. It's neutral, but it helps. We can be held responsible, or personally responsible, for what happens with our fan base. Right, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and thank you very much to Lago Virt for joining me on this video. If you don't know who Lago Virt is, have you been living under a fucking rock? Go check out his channel down below, and huge thanks for him to being in the video. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much.